Japan has been seeking foreign partners to help develop an F-3 air superiority-oriented stealth fighter for its air self-defense force. The concept that has attracted by far the most public interest is Lockheed Martin's proposal for a hybrid of the F-22 Raptor, the world's top air warfare platform, and the newer F-35 Lightning II. However, some commentators believe the F-3 program could see a resurrection of sorts for the F-22's rival of yore, the Northrop YF-23 Black Widow II, an aircraft many believe would have surpassed even the Raptor's impressive performance. In 1981, the Pentagon debuted the Advanced Tactical Fighter (ATF) competition seeking a next-generation stealth fighter that was not only low observable on radar, but that could also beat new Soviet Su-27 Flanker and MiG-29 Fulcrum fighters in a dogfight. This was a major leap, as the only stealth aircraft yet developed, the F-117 Nighthawk, didn't possess air-to-air weaponry or supersonic flight capability. The Air Force also wanted the ATF to be capable of super cruise, sustained supersonic flight without using fuel-gulping afterburners, a challenge given that jet engines' fan blades often prove to be an Achilles heel when trying to reduce radar cross-section. In 1986, competitors for the ATF program were narrowed down to Lockheed Martin and Northrop, which were then instructed to produce YF-22 and YF-23 prototypes of their respective designs to face off in a competition 4 years later. By then, both companies had some experience with stealth aircraft design, Lockheed having manufactured the F-117 and Northrop involved in the subsequent B-2 stealth bomber. Northrop also involved McDonnell Douglas as a subcontractor. Lockheed's YF-22 possessed striking looks, but the YF-23, dubbed the Black Widow II, was truly otherworldly, with diamond-shaped wings to reduce radar observability and a very thin side profile evocative of the State Route 71 Blackbird spy plane. Two huge rear tail fins were canted far outwards at a 50-degree angle above the wing, and were rotated by a fly-by-wire system to induce yaw, roll and pitch. Northrop built two prototypes. The dark gray PAV-1 Spider, initially, it even had a Black Widow's trademark red hourglass on its belly, which first flew June 1990, and the light gray PAV-2, Gray Ghost, that took to the sky that October. While the former used the same Pratt & Whitney F-119 turbofan as the Raptor, the latter used a General Electric yttrium fluoride variable cycle engine which could switch between turbojet and turbofan modes for better low and high-speed performance respectively. The engine inlets used S-ducts to minimize radar cross-section, while heat signature was reduced by channeling exhaust down trenches of heat-absorbent tiles. The YF-23 prototypes were tested for 65 flight hours. Both had in-flight refueling receptacles and a weapon bay that could accommodate 4 AIM-120 long-range missiles. Production aircraft would have also incorporated a single 20mm Vulcan cannon and a bay to carry 2 more short-range Sidewinders missiles. Both YF-22 and YF-23 prototypes did not yet include key systems avionics such as radars. However, the YF-23 lacked one key feature of the Raptor: heavier vector thrust engines which could rotate horizontally to assist in executing tight maneuvers at low speed. Thus, the Raptor came to be considered the more maneuverable of the two planes. In reality, YF-23 was hardly a slouch in terms of agility, capable of attaining angles of attack 60 or 70 degrees above the vector of the plane even without vector thrust propulsion, but apparently only 25-degree maneuvers were performed before Air Force testers. In fact, the YF-23 reportedly scored ahead of the Raptor in most categories, demonstrating higher sustained supersonic super cruise capabilities and longer range. Furthermore, it had an even lower radar cross-section, particularly from the side and rear, further reducing the range at which it could be detected. Some sources familiar with the competition allege that the Lockheed Martin team simply did a better job of showcasing the YF-22's agility to an evaluation team primarily composed of fighter pilots schooled in traditional dogfighting. Another may be that the YF-23 was believed to be more expensive and risky, and the Raptor would already prove exceptionally pricey at between $137 to $150 million per plane. The YF-22 was also reportedly more polished, and the Pentagon may have been skeptical of Northrop's project management capabilities due to the delays and skyrocketing costs of its B-2 stealth bomber. Some even claim the contract was awarded to Lockheed to keep the company afloat. Ironically, were the Air Force given the choice today between greater maneuverability or longer range and greater stealth, it would almost certainly choose the latter. This is because theorists believe future air wars may be fought primarily beyond visual range, making detection capability rather than agility the most important factor. Furthermore, reliance upon short-range fighters constrains them to operating from forward bases highly exposed to enemy missile attacks, and these days the Air Force must contemplate operations over the expanses of the Pacific Ocean. In fact, the Air Force's 6th-generation stealth fighter project, Penetrating Counter-Air, emphasizes long-range over-maneuverability, and Lockheed's proposed design happens to bear an uncanny resemblance to the YF-23. Of course, Northrop's YF-23 tech didn't simply vanish after the loss of the competition. Over a decade later, Northrop tried pitching a revised YF-23 for a proposed medium-range stealth bomber, though ultimately the Air Force ended up choosing Northrop long-range B-21 instead in 2016. Today, the PAV-1 can be seen at the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, while PAV-2 is on display at the Western Museum of Flight in California. In 2018, Tokyo's inquiries to potential partners in its F-3 stealth fighter program reportedly received an enthusiastic response from Northrop Grumman. While Northrop might seek to revive the YF-23, more likely that it would offer unique aspects of the airframe and engine design which might then be integrated with new or existing Japanese technologies. This is because many aspects of Northrop's 1980s-era design would need upgrading, particularly the old-fashioned radar-absorbent material coatings, which remain highly expensive on the F-22 compared to the modular panels on the newer F-35, and the avionics, which were never really developed into a mature system. Still, the Japanese Self-Defense Force might prefer to start with the basis of an existing and tested airframe and subsequently improve upon it, instead of starting from scratch. This could mean that nearly 3 decades later, the Black Widow and Raptor may be pitted against each other in a second competition. I'll throw in a few more answers that have leaked out over the years. The YF-22 was simply more complete than the YF-23. While the YF-23 did have advantages over the YF-22 in stealth and speed, many of its promised capabilities were still on the drawing board, so to speak. There were tests in the trials which the F-22 completed that the F-23 couldn't even attempt. The reputation for over-promising and under-delivering by the companies in the F-23 consortium also played a big role. Additionally, a flaw turned up in the F-23 design during testing. While it probably wasn't a big deal and could have been overcome, it was just another, buy it while it's broke and we'll fix it later problem, that the military didn't want to deal with after the B-2 debacle. When the F-23 made tight turns, such as in combat, it created contrails in the sky. It was like a giant, "Here I am, shoot me," sign, which really isn't ideal when stealth and non-detection is your whole game. Is any of this true? I don't know, since it was all supposed to be classified, so take it for what it's worth. FYI, the YF-23 never had thrust vectoring. It was an intentional choice. You can see how far inboard the exhaust is. The YF-23 was designed for maximum non-detection. This means cooling the exhaust as much as possible before it exits the plane. Hiding it well inside the aircraft makes thermal detection very hard from below and the sides. According to the test pilots, who apparently were on board from day one, they said the size of the rear wing rendered the gain from thrust vectoring to be negligible. The rear wing on the F-23 is almost the same size as the main wing of an F-15 and can turn 40 degrees. The thrust vectoring on the F-22 isn't real thrust vectoring, it only pitches up and down. The F-22 on the F-23 there is a cover that comes out, over the top of the exhaust, but this isn't thrust vectoring. Perhaps some people have seen this deployed and have jumped to the wrong conclusion. I've done some more research and it's interesting how much misinformation there is and how many people are definitively quoting facts that apparently they just made up. Such as, the top speed of the YF-23 is Mach 2.6 etc. the top altitude is, etc. it's faster than the F-22. In reality, there were only 2 prototypes built and neither exceeded Mach 1.8 in speed or 50,050 feet in altitude. Even then, those achievements weren't maintained for long. However, the test pilots did say they could have flown faster. Consequently, nobody knows the true top speed or top altitude of the YF-23. The quoted performance numbers of the aircraft are purely theoretical. Additional research has also revealed that much of what I wrote earlier turns out to have been true. The F-22 was much further along. The prototype F-23s had all sorts of problems. The gray prototype was especially bad. It was the second one built and should have been the better aircraft, but it didn't turn out that way. It was called the Gray Ghost, or PAV-2 feeder, Spider. It has the number 801 painted on the rear wing. Apparently it was a piece of crap. The GE engine, although more powerful, wasn't as manageable or reliable as the Pratt & Whitney, so the plane had the worst of both worlds. Additionally, there was a problem with the design of the front windshield. It cracked on both YF-23s in flight. On PAV-1 at Mach 0.9 and on PAV-2 at Mach 1.5 another time it cracked while just sitting in the hangar. That may not seem like a big deal, but those were stealth-designed cockpits. The glass was special, stealth glass, and how it fit on the plane affected its radar cross-section. Inventing a new type of glass or changing the entire cockpit design is a big deal. The F-22 fired a missile, made a 9G turn and was photographed at 60-degree angle of attack. By comparison, the YF-23 needed new windshields and couldn't even hold a missile in its weapons bay. It wasn't part of the competition requirements, so the Northrop Group didn't bother. Designing a way to fire a weapon from a stealth aircraft that doesn't ruin its radar evading profile presents a lot of problems. The Northrop Group should have thought about this problem. The fact that they didn't, just shows how far behind they were. You can see where it all went wrong for the YF-23. One contender wasn't just completing the tasks assigned, it was exceeding them, while the other contender was constantly breaking down. Sadly, just like the stereotype the Air Force had come to expect from these companies. There is one more thing to consider. Many other countries have tried to build a stealth aircraft since the 90s, but none have copied the YF-23's design. This would be pretty easy given the amount of information available, but given the fact that no one is going down that path, leads me to believe that there may be something inherently wrong with YF-23's design. In retrospect, when you consider how much was on the line, both in terms of money and the lives of our soldiers, the idea of rushing an aircraft straight out of production and into a competition is crazy. If the designers of the YF-23 had enough time to shake out all of the bugs, I believe it's very possible there would have been a different decision made by the Pentagon. However, I certainly understand why the F-22 was chosen.
love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't be scared. Step it up. Don't be scared. And if you get in my way, you gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math. When I hate, I attack. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Step it up. Don't be scared. Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Step it up. Don't be scared. my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks aftermath. When I hate, I attack. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look me up. Don't be scared. Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look me up. Don't be scared. My face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks aftermath. When I hate, I attack. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look me up. Don't be scared. Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. looking back, mirror breaks, aftermath. When I hate, I attack. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look it up.